Let go of your expectations. Buddhist wisdom. Disappointment is a strange kind of pain. If you look closely, it almost never comes from what actually happened. When was the last time your chest tightened over something that didn't go as planned? Maybe it was a result that didn't match the effort. Maybe someone you loved walked away despite everything you gave. Maybe your children chose a path you never imagined and something in you cracked. Not because of what they chose, but because of what you'd already decided their life was supposed to look like. Something deeper than sadness moved through you in that moment. It felt like betrayal, as if you had made an agreement with life, kept your end of the deal, and life broke its promise. Sit with that feeling for a second. Don't rush past it. You know this ache, not as a concept, but in your body. The tightness in the chest, the heat behind the eyes, the stomach dropping. You felt it more times than you can count, and every time, you found something to blame. The person who left, the system that failed, the universe that didn't care, but the sting kept returning. Different face, different situation, same wound. What if the wound wasn't caused by what happened, but by something you were carrying long before it happened? That something has a name. We call it expectation. Disappointment never arrives on its own. It walks in through a door that expectation left open. The event itself, the rejection, the loss, the silence is just what happened. The suffering lives in the distance between what happened and what you believed should have happened. Over 2,600 years ago, a man sat beneath a tree in northern India and saw this with extraordinary clarity. The Buddha mapped the inner architecture of suffering, traced it to its roots, and showed how it can end. At the center of that architecture, he found something every human being carries, often without knowing it. The habit of clinging to how things should be while resisting how things are. Today, let's look at this together. What expectation truly is, what the Buddha actually taught about it, and what actually changes when you begin to loosen the grip. Before we talk about letting go, we need to understand what we're holding. Expectation is subtle. It doesn't announce itself. It lives underneath your awareness, woven so tightly into the way you think that it feels like reality itself. You don't question it because you don't even see it. So, let's slow down and look. Wanting something is natural. You want to be healthy. You want meaningful work. You want your relationships to feel safe. There is nothing harmful in any of that. And making plans is wise. That's responsible living. Expectation lives in a different place. Expectation is what happens when you attach your sense of, "I'm okay," to a specific outcome. It's the quiet, almost unconscious belief that if this particular thing doesn't happen in this particular way, something is fundamentally wrong. With my life, with the world, with me. The tricky thing is that expectations rarely announce themselves as expectations. They disguise themselves as reasonable assumptions, as common sense, as the way things should be. You don't walk around thinking, "I have an expectation right now." You just carry a quiet picture of how something is supposed to unfold. And you don't even notice the picture is there until reality paints something different. Here's how to recognize one. Pay attention to the moments when you feel a flash of frustration or hurt that seems bigger than the situation warrants. Someone doesn't reply to your message for a few hours, and your mind begins building a story of rejection. Your partner forgets something you told them, and suddenly, you're questioning the entire relationship. You work hard on a project and receive lukewarm feedback, and something inside you collapses. Not because the feedback was cruel, but because you'd already written a version of this moment in which you were praised. That collapse is the signature of an expectation breaking. There was a script running beneath the surface. A quiet if-then you didn't know you were carrying. If I love them enough, they'll stay. If I work hard enough, I'll be recognized. If I'm a good person, life will be fair. These scripts feel so natural that they're invisible. And when reality doesn't follow the script, the pain feels like it's coming from the outside, but it's coming from the script itself. There's a reason this pattern runs so deep. Psychologically, the human mind is a prediction machine. It builds mental models of how things should unfold, rehearses outcomes, simulates the future, all to create a sense of safety in a world that offers no guarantees. When reality doesn't match the simulation, the mind treats it as a threat. That's why a missed promotion can feel like a physical blow. Why an unanswered message can spiral into a story of abandonment. Your nervous system is responding to a violated prediction as if something genuinely dangerous just happened. It's deeply human, but it means that most of us are walking around carrying dozens of predictions we've mistaken for promises. The Buddha had a word for why this happens: avidya, a fundamental not seeing. We don't see clearly that everything we touch, everything we love, everything we plan for, is in constant motion. The Pali word is anicca, impermanence. Every relationship is changing, every body is aging, every circumstance is shifting under your feet right now, whether you notice or not. Because we can't accept this, or because we see it and look away, we build expectations. We construct blueprints of how things should go, because admitting that nothing is guaranteed is terrifying. Expectation, at its root, is a defense against impermanence. It's the mind saying, if I plan hard enough, if I need hard enough, I can make things stay. A refusal to grieve in advance for what hasn't been lost yet. And because we refuse to grieve, we are blindsided every time. You don't know you're carrying an expectation until it breaks, until reality shows up looking nothing like the picture in your head, and pain floods in, messy, sudden, disproportionate. The expectation was there the entire time, running in the background, as natural and invisible as breathing. Your pain, when it comes, is doing you a favor. Every flash of frustration, every wave of disappointment is a hidden expectation stepping into the light. The pain is a mirror. Look into it, not to feel better, but to see what's there. So, the next time something hurts, try a different question, a quieter one. What was I expecting? Let it sit. Don't answer right away. Did the Buddha actually tell people to stop having expectations? In those exact words, no. The phrase is modern, but the teaching behind it is ancient and far more precise. And that precision matters, because without it, the teaching becomes something the Buddha never intended. What the Buddha identified is called upadana, clinging. In the Four Noble Truths, he pointed to tanha as the origin of suffering, craving, thirst, the restless hunger of a mind that constantly reaches for things to be other than they are. In the Dhammacakkappavattana Sutta, the first teaching he gave after his awakening, he described three forms of this craving: craving for sensory pleasure, craving to become something, to be successful, admired, a certain kind of person, and craving for things to disappear, for pain to end, for uncomfortable realities to stop existing. That second form is where most of our expectations quietly live. The third, the craving for disappearance, hides a trap we'll return to later. Here's where the teaching gets misunderstood. Many people hear craving causes suffering and conclude the Buddha wanted us to want nothing, to become indifferent. This turns one of the most compassionate teachings in human history into something lifeless, and it misses a distinction he made very clearly. In the Pali tradition, there is a word called chanda, wholesome aspiration, the desire to grow, to learn, to care. The Buddha placed chanda as the very first of the four iddhipada, the foundations of spiritual power. He taught people to want with open hands. Tanha grips. It says, I need this outcome, and I cannot be at peace without it. There is a tightness in it, an anxiety, a fear of loss, even before anything has been lost. Chanda reaches forward with care and dedication, and then allows the result to arrive in whatever form it takes. The effort is wholehearted. The attachment to the outcome is released. But I want to be honest about something here, because leaving it unsaid would be a disservice. The line between chanda and tanha is razor thin, and most of what we believe is wholesome aspiration still carries traces of craving underneath. A father says, I want my child to be happy, and calls it love. But beneath that, there may be a quiet need for his child's happiness to prove something about his own life. A practitioner says, I want to be free from suffering for the sake of others. But underneath, there's a private longing to escape the ordinariness of their own experience. The practice demands ruthless honesty. Keep looking, layer after layer, especially at the desires you were most certain were pure. The Buddha was explicit about effort. Right effort, samavayama, is the sixth factor of his noble eightfold path. Prevent harmful patterns from arising. Release those already present. Cultivate wholesome qualities. Sustain those already developed. This is vigorous, deeply engaged living. His path asks you to show up fully, to pour everything into how you live and what you do, and then to hold whatever comes with grace. Full effort, open hands. You still work, still love, still build. You simply stop insisting the universe owes you a specific receipt for your effort. When people first hear this teaching, something resists, and that resistance makes sense. The mind immediately asks, does this mean I should stop caring? Does this mean I throw everything away and feel nothing? So, let's be very clear about what letting go actually is. Letting go does not mean discarding your love, your drive, or your care. It means seeing clearly what you're actually holding. Most of the time, we don't even know we're gripping something until the grip causes pain. We think we're loving someone, but underneath, we're demanding they fill a specific role. We think we're working hard, but underneath, we've already decided that only one outcome is acceptable. We think we're being devoted parents, but underneath, we're holding our children's futures hostage to a picture we painted before they could speak. Letting go is the moment you see that clearly. You see the demand hiding beneath the love. You see the condition hiding beneath the effort. You see the blueprint hiding beneath the care. And in that seeing, something begins to shift on its own. You don't have to force yourself to release anything. You just have to see honestly what's there. When you carry expectations into your relationships, your love quietly becomes conditional, often without you noticing. I love you begins to carry an invisible footnote. As long as you meet the image, I hold of you. Every time the real person deviates from that image, you feel hurt. You think they caused it, but the hurt was born between who they are and who you needed them to be. When that image dissolves, you begin to see the actual human being standing there, with all their imperfections. And your love, freed from conditions, becomes more spacious. The Buddha called this quality metta, loving kindness, a goodwill that doesn't require the person to change. So, The next time someone you care about does something that stings, pause and ask, am I hurting because of what they did or because of what I expected them to do? Sit with that. Don't rush to the next thought. There is another layer, more subtle, that catches people who've already been practicing for a while. It's the trap of expecting the pain to stop. You try to release your grip. You sit with the ideas, genuinely attempt to practice, and then pain comes anyway. Disappointment returns. You think, I must be doing this wrong. But look at what just happened. You released one expectation and quietly built a new one in its place. The expectation that practice would make you immune to suffering. Now, you're clinging to the idea of freedom from clinging. The Buddha had a term for this pattern. He called it vibhava tanha, the craving for non-existence, the desire to make unpleasant experience simply vanish. It is the most refined form of craving because it wears the costume of spiritual progress. If you sit with this long enough, a sharper question surfaces. What exactly are you protecting when you grip so tightly? Look carefully. You might find that it's not the outcome you're protecting, it's a sense of control. And control, in a world that is fundamentally impermanent, is itself the deepest form of expectation. Notice your breathing right now. Notice whether your jaw has clenched or your shoulders have lifted while reading this. That tension is information. It's the grip showing up in real time. This practice is not a single event. It's what the Pali tradition calls bhavana, cultivation through repetition. But there's a difference between seeing a chain and breaking it. The moment you notice the grip, that noticing is real. It matters. It is the necessary first step, but it is only the first step. After seeing comes what the Pali texts call viraga, dispassion, the gradual cooling of the heat that kept you holding on. And after that comes bhana, the actual abandoning. The moment you stop feeding the old pattern, stop returning to the same story for comfort. This takes months, years, repetitions beyond counting. Sometimes you'll see the expectation clearly and still not be ready to release it. That is not failure. But don't mistake the seeing for the freedom. The seeing is the door. You still have to walk through it. Here is something worth considering. As long as you are expecting, your mind will never be still. Think about it. When you expect something from another person, part of your attention is always somewhere else, scanning for signs that they will or won't deliver what you need. When you expect a certain outcome from your work, part of you is already living in the future, rehearsing success or bracing for failure. When you expect life to be fair, part of you is constantly measuring, comparing, keeping score. The mind that expects is a mind that never fully arrives in the present moment because it's always leaning forward, reaching toward a version of reality that doesn't exist yet. This is why expectations are so exhausting, not because they're morally wrong, but because they scatter your attention across 1,000 futures that may never come. The Buddha, in the Lokadharma Sutta, described 8 forces that move through every human life. He called them the 8 worldly winds: gain and loss, praise and blame, fame and disgrace, pleasure and pain. These winds blow through every life. No one chooses which arrive. The Buddha himself was praised by thousands and slandered by those closest to him. He was honored in royal courts and turned away from entire villages. The winds spare no one. But here is what changes when expectations begin to quiet down. You stop being thrown around by the weather. Praise comes, and you receive it without needing it to stay. Blame comes, and it stings. But it doesn't shatter you. because your sense of worth wasn't resting on what others think. Failure arrives, and instead of collapsing, you look at it clearly, learn what it has to teach, and keep moving. Pleasure comes, and you enjoy it fully, without clinging, without the desperate thought, "Don't let this end." This is not numbness, this is presence. When the mind stops leaning into the future, it lands here, in this room, in this breath, with this person in front of you. You begin to notice things you were too distracted to see before. The way your child laughs when they're not performing for you. The warmth of a friend who shows up imperfectly, but honestly. The quiet satisfaction of work done well, regardless of whether anyone applauds. There is a beautiful paradox here. The less you demand from life, the more you actually receive from it. Because you are finally paying attention to what is here, instead of measuring it against a fantasy of what should be. This doesn't mean you stop caring. It means you care about what's real, instead of what's imagined. You love the person in front of you, not the version you rehearsed in your head. You engage with the work before you, not the reward you've already spent in your mind. You live this day, not the projection of a day you think you deserve. And perhaps this is the deepest thing worth saying. The nature of letting go, when you finally understand it, is not an act of force. You don't wrestle your expectations to the ground. You don't shame yourself for having them. You simply see them clearly enough that they loosen on their own. This is what the entire journey has been pointing toward. The pain was a mirror. The teachings were a lens. And what you've been learning to do all along is to look. When you truly understand that the person you love will never be the fixed image in your mind, that the career you've built will keep shifting beneath you, that every single thing you expect is a living, moving, uncontrollable process. Something relaxes, not because you decided to relax, because the illusion that things would hold still no longer holds you. So, if you carry one thing from this conversation, the next time your heart aches for reasons you can't quite name, pause. And in that pause, ask, what was I expecting? You don't need to solve anything. Just notice what you were holding. That noticing won't free you by itself, but it is where freedom begins. Some mornings you'll forget. Some nights you'll grip tighter than ever. That's not failure. That's what it means to be alive in a body, in a world, among people you love. But somewhere in the middle of an ordinary day, you'll catch yourself reaching for the old script. And this time, you'll see it. You'll see the demand hiding underneath the hope. And in that seeing, the grip won't feel quite as necessary as it used to. The things you expect will never hold still long enough to match the picture in your head. People grow, circumstances shift, plans unravel. The world turns in directions no one predicted. And the quiet that comes when you finally stop asking reality to freeze is not emptiness. It's the sound of a mind that has stopped arguing with what is and started meeting it fully wherever it happens to be. That meeting is not a destination. It's how you walk.